The Presidential Economic Advisors, written and presented by Cody Morrison. The Council of Economic Advisors, an agency within the Executive Office of the President. The advisors gather timely and authoritative information concerning economic developments and economic trends, both current and prospective. To analyze and interpret such information is the primary role of the advisors. The economic advisors also promote free competitive enterprise and work to maintain employment, production, and purchasing power for those who reside within the United States of America. The Employment Act of 1946, signed into effect by President Harry Truman. The act was designed to assemble a council of 3 by advice and consent of the Senate. Each appointment must be remarkably qualified. The main purpose was to lay the responsibility of the economic stability of inflation and unemployment onto the federal government. Gary Cohn, previous president and chief operating officer of Goldman Sachs. President Trump has sought the advice of Cohn on several occasions since taking office as President of the United States. January 20th, 2017, Cohn has taken office as Director of the National Economic Committee. Mr. Cohn has taken the lead on several positions to include taxation, infrastructure, financial regulation, and replacement of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Trump has since redacted components of Obamacare and has begun restructuring a health care plan. Trump has also begun efforts to provide $1 trillion over 10 years in an effort to renovate the United States infrastructure. None of these policies can be rewritten or established without the advice of several economic advisors, but most importantly, without the advice of Gary Cohn. The 77th Treasury Secretary of the United States, Stephen Mnuchin. Mnuchin was confirmed by the Senate on February 13, 2017. Mnuchin has also worked with Goldman Sachs as a mortgage officer. Mnuchin's morals have come to question as he engaged in quick foreclosures to preclude a potential loss. Mnuchin is goal-driven and seeks to obtain a 3 to 4% sustained GDP growth rate. Mnuchin and President Trump plan to establish a better trade deal with several countries and abolish the NAFTA deal that is currently in place. Mnuchin would also like to see an increased opportunity for greater lending to become available to firms and individuals. The Fed has reacted by imposing an increased interest rate, encouraging savings and promoting borrowing by firms and individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, the 44th President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. President Obama had entered a weakened economy. Unemployment rates were high, and the economy had nearly collapsed due to the bursting of the housing bubble. The Obama administration, economic advisors, had to take quick and decisive action to prevent total economic failure. To do so, the Obama administration would expand and extend emergency unemployment benefits, increase and expand access to supplemental nutritional assistance, also known as food stamps, and provide subsidies to prevent those who lost their jobs not to lose their health care coverage. These programs and implementations seemed all but necessary, though the repercussion could prove more damaging than the implementation. Many free market economists will take the stance against government intervention for this very reason. The Obama administration is credited with several accomplishments to include reducing unemployment and weakening the impact of the recession. This may seem the case, though now current leadership must take action to remove individuals off the assistance programs and motivate individuals to become more self-sustaining. The Obama administration also pursued initiatives to encourage individuals to pursue a higher education to further stabilize an economy in times of dramatic fluctuation. The ideology behind the initiative was based on statistical data showing individuals who were less educated a correlation to high unemployment rates. The Obama administration had only pursued policies that seemed appropriate at the time, though now one must gently encourage self-sustainment. Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th President of the United States, President Donald Trump. Perhaps the most blatant president in recent history, President Trump has put the United States back into the driver's seat of world leadership. The Trump administration has imposed a 5-part tax plan. One section of the plan intends to cut tax for small business and corporate tax by half of the current rate. The tax revitalization is a measure to encourage increased spending. The Trump administration intends to impose several program cuts of $500 billion to dramatically decrease the current United States deficit. The alterations made to Obamacare would allow for insurance companies to operate over state lines, remove a mandate to have health insurance, allow for tax deductions for health insurance premiums, making Medicaid a block grant program, and allow consumers to purchase pharmaceuticals overseas. Encouraging economic growth in the United States, the Trump administration has vowed to restructure trade deals and implemented a plan to impose $1 trillion towards the rebuilding of the United States infrastructure. This would create jobs for many Americans and encourage economic growth. A majority of the dams across the United States are between 50 and 60 years old. With measures of infrastructure maintenance, this may prevent economic catastrophe, such as the Oroville Dam. Restructuring of trade. Restructuring of trade is not a one-step process and will take careful thought and consideration to ensure economic stability of many nations. The United States, Canada, and Mexico share a deep-rooted relationship regarding trade. When Trump was elected president, the market in Mexico panicked and began to decline swiftly as Trump has vowed to remove the United States from the NAFTA Pact. The deal itself has relatively little benefit to Canada or the United States, but more so with smaller developing countries like Mexico. Each trade deal will need to be carefully drafted and imposed gently, as action requires reaction. Imposing a tariff on China will cause prices to increase in the United States. The administration will need to carefully analyze the opportunity cost and determine an appropriate action. Strengthening and rebuilding the economy. Restructuring an economy is a daunting task. An administration's goal should be to nurture and grow an economy. With each new administration, previous policies and actions are rescinded and new are implemented. Measures by an administration are implemented to prevent a high rate of inflation or dampen the effects of a recession. The Obama administration imposed a bailout to boost spending, while the Trump administration encouraged the Fed to increase the interest rate, which in turn increases savings, leading to investment and lending by firms. To appropriately rebuild an economy, one must move through the channels slowly and steadily, creating policies that have the economy as a whole as the primary interest. The fate of the United States economy lies in the hands of the economic advisors and the President of the United States of America. Each president enters office with a personal agenda that correlates to the beliefs of a particular party. Some ideologies are absurd, while others are realistic and support the type of change needed to establish a healthy economy. Utilizing the ideas from both parties to create a plan would truly be ideal and most beneficial to the majority. The economy will likely always remain swayed by politics, and decisions will be made with the concern for all world economies.